So wonderful to see everyone here. We want to thank you for coming. It's great to see people without masks on while they're eating. I can at least see faces that I haven't seen in a very long time. Even you, Brian Braddock. It's good to see your face. So, Mike mentioned several of the things that we plan on doing as the chamber, and two initiatives that I had when I took over as chairman of the board last year was the working workshops for small businesses, and we were so pleased to complete those last month, where we had 3 different segments that covered things like financial statement analysis, how to approach banks for loans, how to do a business and operating plan. And as many of you know, it's one thing to know your trade, it's another thing to know the business side of running your business. But we're just so pleased to announce the partnership with the SCORE of the Grand Strand chapter, and now we are doing the SCORE of the PD as a branch of that to offer small business mentoring. It's free. When any small business, whether you're in existence for years or whether you're brand new, you have challenges, you have hurdles, the things that keep you up at night, what we're going to be able to do is provide local resources, professionals who have been through the skinning of the knees, who know what it's like to wring your hands at night, and we'll be able to offer those services free of charge to businesses at your leisure. So we're very excited about that ribbon cutting that we have Friday, and we'll be really planning to launch that in full flight in April here. Now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker today. Pamela Evette is the 93rd Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina and the first female Republican Lieutenant Governor. An entrepreneur and businesswoman, Evette founded Quality Business Solutions, a payroll, human resources, and benefits services firm headquartered in Travelers Rest. Under her leadership as president and CEO, QBS grew exponentially, going from startup to one of the nation's fastest growing small businesses. QBS has been repeatedly honored among the fastest growing and best places to work in South Carolina. Evette has received numerous business and professional accolades, including the Athena Leadership Award, the Enterprising Woman of the Year Award, and the Women Presidents Organization 50 Fastest Growing Women-Owned and Led Companies Award. Evette serves on the boards of directors of the St. Francis Foundation, which is affiliated with Bon Secours St. Francis Hospital, and the National Association of Professional Employer Organizations, where she is also an emeritus member of the State Legislative Committee. A native of Ohio and the mother of 3, Evette holds a Bachelor's of Business Administration and Accounting from Cleveland State University. She lives in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and enjoys spending time with her husband, David, and their children, as well as her mother, Jenny, who lives with them. Now, that's the official bio. What is not here is the fact that she's also a pretty darn good golfer. I've personally seen that. She can outdrive me, which should be embarrassed to say, but I'm not, because she's really pretty good. You'll notice that she's a native of Ohio. As many of you know, I am as well, and the Lieutenant Governor and I were born and raised within a couple hours of each other. She went to Cleveland State, and I went to Bowling Green State. But you'll notice something in common, which is we're both here. You know, we can be born somewhere else, but we got to South Carolina as fast as we can. And we're not going back. So it is my honor to introduce my friend, the Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina, Pamela Evette.
So Mike has taken all my jokes. I was born in Ohio, but got here as quick as I could, right? I said that over and over on the campaign trail. Well, good afternoon, Florence. Hi, come on, you didn't eat that much. It's wonderful to be here. Florence is such an amazing community, and as I look out, I see so many warm and friendly faces that I've seen over and over again. So this has been an amazing journey for me. As you heard, I came out of the business world. For those of you who haven't heard me or seen me or been somewhere I'm talking, which I find hard to believe at this point now, starting my 3rd year as Lieutenant Governor, I started out in business, was an accountant by trade, started my own company, and always had a call to serve. Because that was probably the main question I get is, what made you do this? Why would you want to do this, right? And it's because I used to sit exactly where you were, and I used to look at government and say, why are we doing this? Why are they doing this? How do they expect me to follow this rule or regulation or law? And then I kind of went back to my roots. You see, my grandparents were all immigrants, all came here from Poland in around 1910, and were so proud to be Americans that they said, if you could ever serve, if the opportunity ever came to you, you should. You should be proud to be an American, you should be proud to serve this country. And my father would add to that, if you don't like something that's going on, don't just complain about it, right? Come with a solution. And so that's how I got to where I am today. Met the governor, was very in line. I can't tell you how proud I am, and before I forget, I am supposed to send all of you greetings from him today. This is his hometown, and he looks at Florence with very warm regard. But he is a pro-business governor, somebody that I knew I could stand with, that I could work alongside, and that's how I got to where I am today. Now, when I said yes, I'd love to run and be your lieutenant governor, I didn't plan on a pandemic, right? We were going so good. My first year in office, we were doing great things, looking to improve education, working really hard on that 4K education and getting our kids boasted as they get into school. We're looking at lowering taxes, looking at getting rid of regulations for business, and we were going into it with a huge surplus, $2 billion. We thought, wow, we had great plans for that. And then came 2020, right? And the pandemic hit us. Well, let me tell you about how proud I am of our businesses and our state and what we've done. Is that even though we went into 2020 with this big surplus and we thought about what we wanted to do, pandemic hit, but we were in a great spot. We've been part of a fiscally conservative state for a long time. So what did we do? We did what we always do. We come together. We collaborated. We talked. We thought, what are we going to do now? How are we going to help our businesses? How are we not going to hurt people? How are we going to keep everyone safe? And it was by all of us coming together. So what we did is the governor looked to the General Assembly and asked everybody to keep the budget as it was. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we knew what we had, and that's what we did. The governor took a very focused and direct approach at the pandemic, tapping on the brakes to give our wonderful health systems time to figure out what the pandemic was going to do and what they needed to do, how they needed to gear up. But we always did this with business in mind. So going back to where I came from, being a business person, I was so incredibly proud of the group that the governor put together, Accelerate SC. Did all of you hear about Accelerate SC? Did any of you were able to watch? Because the governor wanted to make sure that Accelerate SC and its meetings were viewed by everyone. He wanted to make sure that there was full transparency on all the money that was coming into our state, how that would be used. And you had great representation here. You had Henry Swank was on that, representing the business community here in Florence, in this part of the state, giving his wisdom of years of business experience. We had Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter sat on the resource board. We wanted to make sure, the governor said, let's bring business to the table. Let's let business have a seat at the table. Let's let local government have a seat at the table. Let's find out hospitals, higher education. Let's find out how we're all going to work together as one South Carolina, Team South Carolina, something that we talk about all the time. How will we work together to make sure that we don't put any more pressure on families and businesses than we needed to? So that went on for 30 days. The governor said, I want 30 days to figure out solutions, and that was what we did. And out of that came great dialogue. It brought light to broadband. You know, down here, there's a lot of rural areas across our state. And what this pandemic did is when schools had to go virtual, it really brought broadband to the forefront. So that's what we did. We used a lot of that money. We teamed up, as we always do here in South Carolina, worked with our utility companies to get broadband out to our rural areas, which we are still expanding and doing. That won't just help with education in years to come. That will help with all kinds of things. Our medical community, right? we were going to tele-mental health. The year before, the governor was very committed to making sure that we had a trained mental health professional at every one of our schools around South Carolina. Well, in a rural area, we don't have enough mental health professionals, right? But we could do tele-mental health, and that's what we did, and this will help with that. Our hospitals and doctors need telehealth to get to patients in our rural areas, to give better quality of care. So those discussions brought, great hope to South Carolina, to those rural areas where we can't always touch like we would like to. A lot of money came into the state, and we made sure that we looked at businesses. Businesses came to the table and said, how is this going to impact us? What we don't want is to touch the brakes and have to furlough people. And now all of a sudden, our insurance rates were going to go up. Unemployment insurance would skyrocket. So what did we do? We wanted to make sure we protected business. So the governor took a large chunk of that money with the advice of Accelerate SC, and we put it into our unemployment reserve funds. Because we wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to come back on business. With all the other challenges you were facing, we didn't want that to affect you too. Looking ahead, we're going to be bringing the resource part of Accelerate SC back into play with the new stimulus money that's coming out, making sure that small businesses that didn't have all the funding, some of the bigger companies did, we would have resources for it here in our state to give back to. So that is yet to come, and things that we're working on. Lots of economic development. When I first started as Lieutenant Governor, I was amazed at looking around the globe how many companies were looking at South Carolina to call home. I had the honor of representing South Carolina in Philadelphia for the Life Science Conference. And they had told me that the year before, there was about 25 people that showed up at a South Carolina reception. And the year that I went, which was in 2019, to talk about South Carolina and the wonderful things that are happening here, our wonderful colleges and technical colleges that put us on the map, and the fact that we have a Commerce Department and a governor that is focused on business and business development. That room packed out because people from all across the world are looking at us and what we're doing here. So we're continuing, even through the pandemic, to have outreach from all around the globe. We have the deepest, widest port on the East Coast. We ship more tires and cars out of South Carolina than anywhere. Knut Fleur with BMW said last year was his best year. He thinks in Germany they may actually erect a statue for him, he said, because he did so well here in South Carolina. And he said the secret of that was great government. Everybody understanding how important working together was. He said Michelin was feeling the same thing, and that's the way we'll keep going forward. But we're looking at all different kind of industries. We know that we excel when it comes to advanced manufacturing, and we know our colleges and technical colleges are what make us shine. But now we're looking at industries like the life science world. We have great companies like Nephron Pharmaceutical that really put us on the map here in South Carolina, and we continue to grow. Right here in Florence, we have great companies like McCall Farms. They're going to be expanding 140 new jobs and a $50 million investment here in growth. You have Buc-ee's Travel Center, who's coming here. That's amazing. I've never seen one, but I've heard about it, and I've seen the pictures, so I'm really kind of excited. We have Niagara Bottling right here in Florence. And I got to tell you, I love your hashtag, because I was in Anderson County yesterday, and I was telling the mayor and Mike that when they found out I was going to be in Florence, the first thing they said is, you are going to Flowtown. That is amazing. Flowtown is, and I love that. It's so endearing and warm, and I want you to know that all the way up in Anderson County, people are referring to you as Flowtown. So, unemployment before the pandemic was almost non-existent, right? 2.7%. I was the envy of lieutenant governors across the country. They couldn't believe it, because basically 2.7% meant that we were at zero unemployment. In the worst part of the pandemic, we got up to 12.6, but I'm proud to say we were back down to 4.5. and we are continuing to move along. And we're doing that because of great things that are happening. Thank you to the prior administration and some good business for thinking ahead. The vaccine came to us in December, and we have really done a great job distributing that. I can't thank Darlington Raceway and McLeod for partnering up. 5,400 vaccines were given in Darlington that day. It is the largest number of shots that were given in one day anywhere in the state. And the governor is so proud of that. He talks about it everywhere. And that has become a model of mass vaccine distribution across our state. So thank you to Darlington Raceway. Thank you to McLeod for putting that together. That was no small feat. As far as vaccines go, as of this morning, I wanted to get you the latest and greatest statistics. 1.5 million vaccines have been administered here in South Carolina, which is amazing. Since the vaccine has hit the ground, South Carolina has been ranked 4th and 5th in the nation for the distribution process that we're using, getting it into the arms, making sure that every drop was given. And we'll continue to do that. DHEC's new dashboard has been launched and is having great success, giving ease to trying to find those vaccine distribution places. So South Carolina is open for business. Vaccines are flowing, people are getting back to normal, and I'm hoping, just seeing this many people together after a year of Zoom calls just warms my heart. I almost forgot what it's like to talk in front of a room with this many people, because now I just see a bunch of little faces on a screen wrapped around my screen, which for any of you ladies who have sat on Zoom calls is pretty distressing, right? Because you have to not do this as you're looking at yourself, and you have to make sure that you're not looking weird at the camera. This is much better. This is way better. So lots of things that are still happening. So a little bit of update from what's going on in Columbia. Lots of great things. Speaker Lucas has said that this is the fastest amount of bills that have gone through the House, looking at all kinds of things from election integrity to open carry, to passing the heartbeat bill. That was a huge thing. The governor has been very passionate about getting that signed and into play, and it is. So there are a lot of great things happening. The governor is still going to continue to push for lowering taxes, and especially lowering taxes, or actually eliminating taxes on the retirement benefits for our first responders, for our veterans, people who serve us every day. And I think we've seen that. South Carolina's National Guard has done so much to help since the beginning of this pandemic, from doing COVID testing to now doing vaccinations, to stand ready if they had to put up hospitals, if our hospitals ever became full. So they have been just doing a remarkable job. We sent them up to Washington because they know that our Guard stands ready and able always. So we're always proud of what they do. And the governor doesn't take that lightly. He believes first and foremost we need to take care of them once they retire. So what I want to do is I want to leave time for you to ask me questions, because I give a very high overview, but I know in this time you all have specific questions about things that are going on, maybe up in Columbia, around the state, or things that may be coming down the pike. So with that, I think somebody has a microphone. Can they wave so everybody knows where he is? It's this handsome guy right here.
Is running for governor someday yourself in the front of your mind, back of your mind, and not at all? And one other question is, what's your perspective on women in politics these days? Is the glass ceiling cracked? Is it shattered? Or somewhere in between?
Well, those are both great questions. You know, I love being lieutenant governor. It is something that I only imagined that someday I'd be able to give back and serve, and it is the biggest honor that I have, is serving you and the people of South Carolina. So what I always say is I never know what the next door God is going to open, but I love what I do right now, and I love serving with our governor. As far as women, you know, I got that question a lot, not just in my political role, but in a business role. So I started with my husband a national company. Didn't start that way. I always say God dreamed a bigger dream for me than I could ever dream for myself. And so I am a female that grew up with 3 older brothers. So for me, I never thought that there was a ceiling because I never was told there was a ceiling. I was told I could do and be anything I ever wanted to do and be as long as I worked hard enough to get there. And so, you know, I think it's great that more women are feeling empowered to get into the political world, to get into business roles, to sit on boards, to think that there are no limitations. But I will tell you a great story, because I never really thought about it, probably because of my upbringing. But when I first became lieutenant governor, I had a gentleman reach out to my office. And he asked if he could get an appointment to bring his 6-year-old daughter, Fern, in to visit with me. And of course, my office said yes, because there's probably one of the funnest things I do is visit schools and have 3rd grade classes come to the Capitol so I can talk to them. But she came in to see me, and he thanked me because he said every day that he took her to school, they would drive past the Capitol. And one day, Fern asked him if any ladies work in that building. And so he said, as a matter of fact, we have a new lady that works in that building. So I had a great 2-hour meeting with her in my office, talking about how the sky is the limit for her and anybody else, and that if you're going to dream, dream big. So I think all of us as leaders, right, that should be the message. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. You can be whatever you want to be as long as you're willing to work hard enough to do that.
We have time for one more question. Lieutenant Governor?
Sure. Okay, guys, 3rd graders asked me how tall the Capitol is, how many squares of marble there are. You guys are being really easy on me. All right. Well, thank you for being so easy on me. And thank you for all you do, because Florence is a shining star here in South Carolina. And I'm amazingly proud of everything that happens here. You know, the governor keeps a very close eye on this part of the state because, like I said, this is home for him and is very near and dear to his heart. So thank you for all you do. Know that my door is always open, and I'm just a phone call away. If there's ever anything I can do to help you, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Again, it is my honor to be able to serve you. Thank you.